Welcome to Cookin' with Dre. Tonight we're making corned beef and cabbage, a classic one-pot Irish recipe. If you tuned in last week, we broke down a whole brisket. And the brisket has two parts. It has the point and the flat. And we took about a third of the flat and we put it in a brine last week, which was 7 days ago, and now it's ready to cook. For a corning solution, or brine, it consists of about 1 gallon of water, 3 tablespoons of pickling spice, 2 cups of salt, and a half cup of brown sugar. And the word corn comes from Old English meaning grain, which is referred to as the large rock salt they used to use in the solution. You ever get a brisket from the store and ever wonder what's in that little packet they give you? You know, I do too, but I think Big Brisket doesn't really want you to know what's in it. So I'm going to do my best to recreate what comes with it. So here we have a little cheesecloth to make a sachet of spice to put in that liquid we're cooking the beef in. Here we have 1 tablespoon of pickling spice, a half teaspoon of poppy seed, half teaspoon of anise seed, and I have about a half gram of dried orange peel. We'll wrap it up. Give it a little tie. That way you have a nice little sachet you can fish in and out of there. Here we have our brisket. We pulled it out of our brine a couple of hours ago. We let it soak in some water. About a half hour per pound, and that helps pull a little saltiness out. This is about 2 pounds right here. What we want to do is we're going to cook it for about 15 minutes per pound. So we'll go ahead and put it in our heavy bottom pot. And we'll cover it with about 3 quarts of water. And then we'll bring it to our stove. So now we've brought this up to a boil, we're just going to cut it down to low. Put the cover on it. We'll set our timer to 50 minutes. The key thing to remember is you don't need to add any extra salt at this point. You might have enough salt in that beef that'll season the whole dish. And I'll see you in 50 minutes. In the meantime, we'll go over to our cutting board and cut our veg. For this recipe, we're going to use 1 small head of cabbage, 4 whole carrots, and 7 red potatoes. What we're going to do, we're going to peel and cut our potatoes in half. Then we're going to peel and cut our carrots in probably about like 1 to 2 inch chunks. And then we'll slice this into wedges. Alright, our 50-minute timer is up, so we're just going to take the top off of our pot here. We're going to add our next ingredients. Here we have the 7 potatoes I've peeled in half, and the 4 carrots I've cut on a bias about 1 inch long. We're going to add these. Then what we're going to do, just kind of surround the beef. We're going to add our cabbage in after the next 50 minutes is up. So now we're at the point where we'll just put our top back on, set our timer for another 50 minutes. I'll see you in a little bit. right, our 15 minutes timer is up. We're gonna take it off and check it out here. So at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna strain and reserve about 2 cups of this liquid for our sauce. Then we'll go ahead and take our sachet and discard. Let it drain, get that flavor out. At this point, we're gonna just roll a little bit harder on this heat right now. So we'll throw this away. Our next step, we'll take our cabbage, which we have cored and cut into wedges, and we'll do the same thing. We're just gonna kind of spread them out around that beef. And I tasted this, and it's still a bit salty, so I think it'd be fine seasoning this cabbage as well. And just a note, is anytime you put like a whole potato in something, it acts like it's a sponge and sucks that salt in. So as a hint, if you ever season a soup or a sauce, throw a peeled potato in there, it'll suck a lot of that salt out for you. So we're just gonna surround this. Dunk it under water a little bit. We'll put our top back on. And we'll set our timer at 15 minutes and then we'll check. In the meantime, we'll start our sauce. And how we want to start that is we're going to take about 3 tablespoons of butter. We'll melt it down on low in our pan. We'll be building our roux first. That's what's going to thicken our sauce. And once we get this butter melted, we'll add in about 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and that's gonna be our roux. We're gonna cook it for about 4 minutes, so it's only a blonde roux. Gonna get it smelling nice. Alright, so we got our butter melted. We'll add in our all-purpose flour. Then we'll constantly whisk for about 4 minutes. We want to keep this on low, and we don't want our butter to burn. That's why constantly stirring at low heat is key. Alright, so our 4 minutes is about up. At this point, we're going to add in that liquid we strained off. And still, it has that sodium level where we need to be, so we're not going to need to add any salt to this. What we're going to do is give this a whisk. We'll cook it down for the remaining time. But at this point, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of mustard, 1 tablespoon of cider vinegar, 1/4 cup of grated horseradish, and that ought about do it. So we're just going to cook this down on low until our corned beef and cabbage is ready. Alright, so last time we talked, I told you to check after 15 minutes, and we did. And of course it needed another 20 minutes. We put it on. So the whole time we've had this sauce simmering. As you can see, we're starting to get thick. It's nice and good. It's got a good flavor. Next we can do our plate up. Here we have our corned beef and cabbage. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start plating up our potato and veg. I'm gonna get a little outline. Little amount of cabbage in the middle. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and cut our corned beef. Go ahead and slice it against the grain. That's what's going to make it nice and tender. And we're just going to top it with a little of our sauce. Voila!